Каждый вторник в 12:10 один из самых известных раввинов нашего времени, Маниса Фридман, в прямом эфире отвечает на вопросы наших слушателей. Вы услышите мнение самой мудрой книги человечества – Библии, о самых сложных проблемах, стоящих перед современным миром. Присылайте ваши вопросы заранее на наш имейл info@rusa.fm или во время передачи по СМС 347 460 08 77.
Добрый день всем, кто сейчас настроен на радио USA. В эфире самая светлая, самая добрая, самая программа нашего радио, программа Thank God It's Tuesday, потому что мы ее проводим вместе с самым светлым, именитым, мудрым раввином нашего времени, раввином Манисом Фридманом. И сегодня особый день. Сегодня день, который называется Гимел-Тамуз. Это день Любавичского Ребе. 30 лет тому назад Любавичский Ребе покинул этот физический мир, но продолжает жить так, как никто сегодня не живет. Он живет в каждом из нас, и его дело продолжается и развивается. И вот уже 30 лет, как физически его нет, а жизнь продолжается. Как это возможно, как это может быть, мы поговорим сегодня с раввином Манисом Фридманом, который являлся его очень близким учеником, переводчиком синхронным и вообще большим его учеником, последователем. Поэтому он на самом деле так сегодня нужен и популярен, и мудр. Вот поэтому, больше не теряя ни секунды, переходим к нашему самому замечательному раввину Манису Фридману. Rabbi Manis Friedman, hello, thank God it's Tuesday. So missed our programs, and thank God it's Tuesday because Gimel-Tamuz falls on a Tuesday. So there's no coincidences. It is the greatest day. It is the greatest day of the week, and especially because we have this opportunity to speak with you, to get your wisdom, and especially on a day like today. You were so close to the Rebbe. You were close to him when he was physically here, but this is my opinion, and it's the opinion of many, many others. You're probably closer to him now than you ever were, because everything you teach, everything you relay brings us closer to the Rebbe. And we're so grateful to you for that, because your teachings are amazing, and we really get to know and to feel the Rebbe through your teachings, and you get us closer to God through your teachings. And that's why I would like to start with a very, very personal question, if you don't mind. What is for you the most valuable thing that you have learned from the Rebbe? If you don't mind me asking, starting with this question, what is the most valuable lesson for you?
Oh, that is very hard to pick. Everybody feels closer to the Rebbe now than before, which is an amazing thing that needs to be studied and understood in itself. And what kind of phenomenon is this? Well, like somebody said, the Rebbe can accomplish after passing away more than most people can accomplish in their lifetime. But it's true. One of the very significant, powerful messages that the Rebbe modeled is that as you grow, you increase in responsibility. Which, everybody would agree with. But the trick is, you increase in responsibility, you don't replace responsibility. So when you first start off, you're responsible only to yourself. You get a little older, you're responsible for your whole family. If you succeed in life, you become a leader, an influencer, now you're responsible for a community. If you're very effective and successful, you become responsible for a city. More than that, the whole state, the whole country, the world. And you never neglect or diminish your responsibility to yourself and your family. That is greatness. If you give up everything else because you're now busy with big things, not so impressive. So this is the Rebbe. He's responsible for the world, but he still davens from the Siddur like he did when he was a 4-year-old boy. You increase responsibility, you don't shift responsibility. Like now that I'm running the world, I have no time for you. That Rebbe never did that. No matter what was going on in the world, the Rebbe had patience and time for everybody. I want to tell you a quick story, because the best thing to do on a yahrzeit is to tell a story. There was a shliach, came to a town in Canada, I think, and he was looking around. He needed to buy a house to make a Chabad center. Back in those days, real estate was not so expensive. So he found a house. He needed $47,000 for a down payment. In those days, that was a lot of money. So he put together a list of 10 wealthy Jews in this community to whom he was a complete stranger and he was new there. He was going to ask each of them to give 10% of the down payment. He comes to the first house, the first man on the list. He walks into the house and he looks, there's a picture of the Rebbe over the fireplace. So he says, "What is this?" The man says, "Are you a rabbi?" He says, "Yes." The man says, "Then you should know who this is." He says, "I know who it is. Why do you have a picture of him on your fireplace?" He says, "I'll tell you the story." He was married for many years, and there was no children. He did business in New York, Manhattan. He came to Manhattan once, and then he went out for lunch with his client, with his customer, whatever. As they were talking, the man takes out his wallet and shows him a picture of his children. So he turned colors. He went white or green or whatever. The man said, "What's the matter?" He said, "We don't have any children." And he's very broken up about it. So his customer said to him, "I'm not the one to talk. I'm not religious. I'm not spiritual. But if I were you, I would go to Brooklyn and get a blessing from the Rebbe. It works." The man said, "Are you crazy? A blessing from a rabbi? What are you talking about? And besides, I have to get back to the airport. I have to catch my flight." He comes to the airport and he finds out that his flight is delayed for 2 hours. So he's thinking, should I just sit here and wait? Or should I grab a taxi, go into Brooklyn, get a blessing from the rabbi, and come back? He takes a taxi, he goes into Brooklyn, he comes to 770, he comes inside to the office, and he says, I want to see the rabbi. They said, "Which rabbi?" This is a building full of rabbis. He says, I need a blessing from the chief rabbi, the big rabbi. They said, "You don't have an appointment." He says, I need an appointment? Since when do you need an appointment to see a rabbi? They said, well, you know, the list is long and you got to get in line and wait for your turn. He got very upset. He says, all I want is a blessing and I'm going to have to catch my flight. They said, sorry, you need an appointment. He storms out of the room, angry. And he not looking, he bumps right into a guy. When he came in, the building was empty. In the few minutes that he was in the office, the building fills up with people because it's mincha time, and the Rebbe is going to be davening mincha, the afternoon prayers. So this man, who he bumps into, says, what is your problem? He says, I came here for a blessing. They won't let me get the blessing. He says, is it serious? He says, yeah, it's serious. So the man said, let me tell you what I would do. The Rebbe is going to be coming out of the door on the left, going to walk across the corridor, and he's going to go into the door on the right. Step out in front of the Rebbe and tell him that you need to ask him something. But don't tell anybody I told you to do this. He says, sure. He waits for the Rebbe to come out. Now there's a little crowd in the corridor. He steps out, stands in front of the Rebbe, and he looks at the Rebbe and he can't talk. He gets so emotional, he can't talk. And the Rebbe says to him, you want to ask me something? So he nods. So the Rebbe walks back into his room. The guy follows the Rebbe, and they're standing inside the door. And the Rebbe said, well, what do you want to ask me? So he's too emotional. He says, we don't have children. That's all he could get out was. The Rebbe said to him, I see you're a businessman. I'm also a businessman. And we have no time to waste. So let's make a deal. Promise me you'll put on tefillin every day. I promise you you'll have children. This is the last thing he expected. He couldn't talk. He didn't know what to say. So the Rebbe says, no, you promise? He says, yes. The Rebbe said, I also promise. And the Rebbe went on to Mincha. This is the story the guy is telling the shliach. So the shliach says, and? He says, come, I'll show you. He takes him into the dining room. His 4 children are sitting and having dinner. He says, that's why the Rebbe's picture is in my dining room. Then he says to the shliach, so what can I do for you? What'd you come here for? So he tells him he needs $47,000 for the down payment, and he wants it to be one of the 10. The man said, no. I'm going to give you the $47,000, not be one of the 10. Shliach was very surprised. He says, that's very nice, but why are you so generous? He said, you caught me on a good day. Today is my 47th birthday.
Wow, wow, wow.
So that's how that Chabad got started. So first of all, the Rebbe's completely unorthodox, if I may use that word, the Rebbe's complete unorthodox thinking, method, lifestyle. What did the Rebbe mean, I'm also a businessman? What does that mean? The Rebbe was a professional, he was an engineer with the Navy, but a businessman? What do you mean by that? The difference between a businessman and a scholar. A scholar has all the time in the world. Whatever he needs to do, not today, he'll do it tomorrow. There's no pressure. The Rebbe says, I'm not like that. I'm a businessman. When I see an opportunity, I don't wait for tomorrow. We have no time to waste. That's the behavior of a businessman. If you wait until tomorrow, the deal is gone. You missed the opportunity. So the Rebbe said to him, I'm not going to miss an opportunity. Promise me you'll put on film. Then my business will succeed. And then I promise you, you'll have children and your business will succeed. So this is a business transaction. Imagine if the Rebbe hadn't done that. Imagine if the Rebbe said, God should bless you, you should have children, you should be blessed, God should hear your prayers. All right, that's nice. The man would not have walked away changed. But by the Rebbe saying, hey, it's a deal. You promise, I promise. No prayers, no wishes. Tapara de placha. Business. It changed him. So the Rebbe was able to relate to the person, not be holy. Holiness would not have impressed this guy because he wouldn't understand it. Sure, he made a prayer, so can't hurt, but it doesn't change your life. The Rebbe sized him up so quickly and got right to the core. He's a different person. So first of all, if you have a problem and you go to a holy person and the holy person says, I'll pray for you, I'll say a tefillah, I'll say tehillim for you, you should have, you should, God should be, God should give you. And a year later, something really good happens. Are you going to connect the two things? Or you'll say, I finally lucked out. Hey, there's that famous joke about a guy who needs a parking space desperately. And he's driving in and out of the lanes, and he says, God, please, please, I need a parking space. He said, oh, never mind, there's one. Never mind. I found one. Because of your prayer? Not necessarily. So if the Rebbe had just given him a prayer, and then a year later he has a child, would he connect the two? Would he say this is from the Rebbe's blessing? Maybe not. Maybe he wouldn't even remember that he had been by the Rebbe. But when the Rebbe said, let's talk business here, there was no doubt. When the babies were born, the Rebbe said, you'll have children, plural. He had no doubts that it came from the Rebbe's blessing.
Rabbi Friedman, why is it important to know that it came from the Rebbe's blessing? Why do we need a leader like that? Why is that important?
Mm-hmm. It's a good question. It's also significant that last Shabbos, 3 days ago, we read in the Torah about a man named Korach who said to Moshe, what do we need a leader for? We're all holy, we're all great, what do we need a leader for? And the earth swallowed him up. People who believe, maybe even are religious every day of their life, how real is their belief and their religiosity and there's earth, which is definitely real, and then there's heavenly stuff, which is, for some people, appealing, attractive, enjoyable, meaningful, but real, like really real. Every generation has tzaddikim, holy people, who demonstrate by their very existence that holiness is very real. It's not otherworldly. It's not just in your mind or in your soul. It is real. Like this guy can promise to put on tefillin, and it's totally doable and real. The Rebbe can promise you'll have children. How is that? To offer a prayer and good wishes, I hope for the best, you should have blessings, yeah, okay, fine. But to be able to say, I promise, to this man, God became real, holiness became real, Torah became real enough for him to have a picture of the Rebbe in his house, as if the Rebbe was his grandfather, which is real. So, of course, God can give everybody children without a Rebbe. But would they appreciate that every child comes from God, that every child is holy, that life is holy, reality is holy, if you let it? That's what he got from the Rebbe.
Rabbi Friedman, what would you say to the people who say, well, we need more of that to be a believer, so we need more of that?
Yes. We do. There's never enough. Look, the Jews in Egypt saw 10 plagues. A plague a month. That's how it was. Each plague was in its own month. So for 10 months in a row, there were plagues on Egypt. Not convincing? Even the Egyptians were convinced. But not very deeply, because 3 days later, after the Jews left Egypt, they go running after them to capture them and take them back. And then there's that ultimate miracle of the splitting of the sea. Now are you convinced? Right after the splitting of the sea, the Jews complained, there's no water, what are we going to drink, what are we doing here? Questioning God's plan. So first, that's so Jewish. It really is. God turned water into blood. Cute. God brought frogs from all over. Okay. That's why I should worship him? I'm impressed. I can't make frogs. Split the sea. Whoa, that's impressive. But so what? So I'm going to devote my life to somebody who can split a sea? Why? That's so Jewish. You're very talented, big shot. Why should I serve you? But when God spoke to us at Mount Sinai, and said, I am yours, that we can't get over. Now I know what God means, what it means to serve God, to worship God. Worship Him because He splits seas. That could be a little bit idolatry. So if somebody else with powers and magical abilities splits a sea, I'll go worship him too. It's like marrying a man for his money, because he has a lot of money. And when you meet someone who has more money, what are you going to do? So we're not easily impressed. Like in this story, any chassid who hears the story, what impresses you? Wow, the Rebbe changed their nature from not having children, whatever medical problems there were, and all of a sudden, because the Rebbe wanted and gave a blessing, they have children. Wow. I don't think I could do that. I can try. I don't think I could do that. But is that what you're excited about? Is that why you're passionate about the Rebbe? It was more the way he treated the man. He's on his way to holy prayer. All day long, he's been getting calls and letters and messages from people, from community leaders, from world leaders, big issues, big problem, life and death. And this guy comes and stands in your way, interrupts your schedule, against all the rules. The Rebbe didn't say, excuse me, you have an appointment? Excuse me, I'm on my way to prayer. That's awesome. His commitment and his obligation and his responsibility to this one guy is just as important as his prayers and just as important as all the big issues he just dealt with in his office. That's called the Moshe of our generation. He can go up to heaven and bring 10 commandments down to earth, and he can run after a lamb that got lost with the same devotion. Just speculating. When the Rebbe came home at night to the Rebbitzin, what did he tell her about his day? Imagine she asks him, how was your day? He would say, well, I got a phone call from the Prime Minister of Israel, or I got a phone call from this doctor who has a patient that's in danger, and the surgery would be very risky. Should he risk it? Not life and death. I don't think that Rebbe would mention any of that. I think that Rebbe would say, a man who didn't have children came and he promised to put on tefillin. That to the Rebbe is something he would want to share with his wife. Because not only is it as important, it's in some way even more important. Because it's personal. And that's how all of Judaism should be. Our relationship with God should not be cosmic, shouldn't be a global issue. It's personal.
Rabbi Friedman, why is putting tefillin on personal?
Because the only reason you're doing it is because he asked you to. It's not an emergency. The world's not going to end. You're not big leaders making big decisions. It's just personal. I know when I put on tefillin, it is pleasing to God. Is it earth-shattering? I don't care. If it's pleasing to him, I will do it. It's romantic. Torah is romantic.
It is. Rabbi Friedman, especially when you speak about it. Not so many people speak about Torah and God in such a romantic language like you do. Why is that?
You have to ask them. Why don't they see all the romantic notions and statements, and it's everywhere in the Torah, and it's not even nice to ignore it. You know, God is trying to be intimate and you're just business-like. Oh yeah, you want me to do that? How many times? Well, 4 times? Okay. What's wrong with you? How can you be so jaded? But I think that's what happens. It becomes a ritual, it becomes a habit, and you become jaded. You go through the actions, you're not even thinking, whose mitzvah are you following? Why are you doing this? And that takes all the romance out of it. I mean, imagine a husband coming home on his anniversary and saying to his wife, I got you something. You got me something? It's so pathetic. What, you thought I forgot about the anniversary? I didn't forget, I got you something. What? This is how you... That's sad. Because he invests more from his side than we're investing. So it's not good communication. To God, every mitzvah is a romance. And to us, every mitzvah is an obligation. This is not nice.
What do we do to change that?
Read the Torah again and pay attention. The Jews commit a terrible sin. God is very angry. Moshe pleads 40 days and 40 nights to gain forgiveness for the sin, the golden calf. Finally, after 40 days and 40 nights, God says, I forgive them. You win. God says, I forgive them. I'm not going to wipe them out. I'm going to take them to the promised land. In fact, I'm going to send an angel to guide you to the promised land. It's so spine-tingling. Moshe says, an angel? We don't want angels. If you're not coming with us, we're not going. So first of all, the confidence to be able to say that to God. Particularly after you just barely got forgiveness for this terrible sin you committed, and now you're dictating? Anyone else, if it wasn't Moshe, would say, oh, you're going to send an angel? Okay, good. I mean, we were just going to be wiped out. Whatever you say is good. Anything is better. Moshe says, no. I'm not worshiping an angel. I don't have a relationship with an angel. It's about you. If you're not going, we're not going. Is that not romantic? How can you even miss that?
Rabbi Friedman, what does it mean that we don't have a leader physically with us now, like Moshe Rabbeinu, like the Rebbe? We have you, and that's amazing, because without you, this would be very, very confusing. We would not be able to put few things together. Thank you for clearing it up. And by the way, I have to say, people are calling you a sage. So many people out there. I personally totally agree with you. You're the greatest teacher of our times, and I just want to put it out there, and thank you for that. And I'm sorry if I'm changing the topic slightly, but I appreciate the interest that has been risen lately, and we can see it by the growth of your YouTube channel and by the amount of interviews you're being asked to do. This is amazing. It shows that this is tremendous interest and tremendous spiritual growth all over the world. So, and it's amazing that you have the ability to bring people closer together. That was so appreciated. But the fact that there is no one like the Moshe of our generation, what does that mean for the world right now?
I can tell you what it means to Chassidim. When people ask, why don't you have a new Rebbe? Find somebody. Somebody. Sure. If we could find somebody who could fill the Rebbe's shoes, we would be very excited. They don't even make shoes in that size anymore. So that's just a technical problem. Who? We would love to have another leader, but he's got to be at least as great, if not greater. Well, we haven't found anybody. That's the practical answer. The deeper answer is, see, Moshe had a specific task, and that was to take Jews out of Egypt, bring them to Mount Sinai, and give them the Torah. Entering Israel, that was Yeshua's mission. Fighting the wars in Israel, capturing the land, that was not part of Moshe's destiny. So Moshe completed what he needed to do, and somebody else had to do the next project. The Rebbe's project was to bring Mashiach, to bring God down to earth, so that every human being knows that there's a creator and what the creator wants of him. That's the Rebbe's project. Until that project is finished, there can't be another project, and therefore there can't be another leader. Leaders don't repeat. Every leader is a unique project. So until the Rebbe's project is completed, we can't start another project. So the Rebbe let us know, before he passed away, that he is not going to be here when it's completed. He says, I'm relying on you. You complete the mission. Well, we haven't completed it yet, so we're still busy. Are we looking for a new Rebbe? A new Rebbe would mean a new project. This project is not finished. So yeah, it would be beautiful to have a physical presence of a leader who inspires, who can smile at you and tell you you're doing great. Or We just have to do great. So now we are the leaders. And that's even technically true. Who feels responsible for the world? The Rebbe's shluchim. So maybe when we finish the job, we will look for a new leader, and we're expecting it to be a guy called Mashiach.
Rabbi Fridman, in one of our programs, you said that when I asked when Mashiach is going to come, you said when everybody will want to. Does that mean that we're going to bring Mashiach with our minds?
Well, it means that Mashiach is not going to come and proclaim himself Mashiach and have people doubt him and question him and reject him. We don't need new problems in this world. So Mashiach can't come and cause more problems. That's why Mashiach will come when we are ready, which means we want. We want more today than ever before in history. Not everybody, there's still a few people who think they have a better plan. Really, that's what it is. There are a few people who think they have a better plan and that they are the Mashiach. What will it take to convince them that they're not?
Do you have an idea?
Well, have we convinced the presidents of Ivy League schools that they are not Mashiach? Pretty convincingly.
I think we convinced some presidents of the world, of the different countries, that they're not either. So,
yeah. So I got to tell you two things. Just when you mention about influence, and the most popular topic on YouTube a few years ago, where what I said got a really strong response. Over a number of years, this talk received 2 million hits. Over years. It was about what happens after you die. And I thought, wow, that is the most relevant, the most interesting, the most important topic to people in the world. 2 million hits. A year ago, maybe a little more, we decided to go on TikTok for the first time. And of course, that has to be a very short message. So all I said was, if you raise your children, then you can spoil your grandchildren. If you spoil your children, you're going to have to raise your grandchildren, and you're a little too old by then. 1 million hits in 24 hours. Which means that this is more relevant, more interesting, more compelling, more important than what happens after you die. Last week, I think it was on Instagram, all I said was, if you want to talk to your wife, don't shout from the other side of the house. Go to where she is and speak respectfully. 6 million hits.
I'm one of, and I've listened to your advice as well. Thank you for
What does that tell you? What does that Life after death is an important question, and everybody is concerned, and everybody's... It's not the most pressing issue. Raising your children, your grandchildren, that's getting closer to home. and it doesn't compare. Talk to Your Wife Like a Mensch. 6 million hits. Not all of them Jews. Something as simple, as basic, and therefore as essential. How do you talk to your wife? Or your husband? And it is so common, so accepted, so casual. Yeah, you scream from the other, where are you? Come over here. What, that's not acceptable? You stop and think for a moment. No, that's not acceptable. That's jungle behavior. Your whole life is different. The whole tone in the home has just changed. And your children see that. All of a sudden they realize that their parents are kind of respectable people. And maybe they deserve a little respect. It's so powerful.
Rabbi Fridman, if I may, I would like to share something that affected me more than other teachings by the Rebbe. And that's to be kind at all times, at all cost. In this world, we're kind of taught to push our way into things, use force, not necessarily violence, but, we have to push, we have to try, we have to force it. And by learning what the Rebbe is teaching and has taught us and is teaching us, and what he has showed us by example, is that the best way to get things done is through kindness. And that changed my life tremendously, because it's a such much more effective and better tool. And Rabbi Fridman, I do have to thank you again for getting us closer to the Rebbe, to really passing his message on to us through this incredible way that you have of doing it. It's just so easily comprehensible, comprehensible, and it's priceless. I thank you so much for everything, and this time that you allocate for us is completely priceless, and every second that you are out there on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, whatever means you have, that you are spreading this message around and getting people closer to God, closer to the Rebbe, closer to the truth is amazing, and tremendous gratitude to you for every second of your time. Thank you.
If you know and you don't share, it's a terrible violation. The Gemara says there's a terrible punishment for people who hide food, the crop, so that they can charge more for what they, right? They raise the price by hiding the food that's available. It's a terrible sin. The Rebbe says the same is true with hiding information. If you know what God wants and you know what Judaism is and you don't share it, it's like starving people to make money on. So anyone who knows becomes obligated and responsible to share it. So you are doing your share. You're sharing it with a large audience. Because once you know, you can't keep it to yourself.
And that's a huge blessing. Thank you so much for this as well.
The Rebbe often said, my father-in-law told me privately, but he knew I would eventually tell everybody, so it was meant for the public.
Rabbi Fridman, thank you so much. Thank you for making all these messages public and easily understood, and Very, very romantic. Thank you for that. That's very, very important. And so look forward to more of you on our radio at your convenience at any time, and hopefully on Tuesdays. That's why we always say, thank God it's Tuesday. Thank you so, so much, Rabbi Фридман. Thank you. Ну а всем, кто нас слушал, огромное вам спасибо за то, что вы с нами, за то, что вы есть, за то, что вас интересует узнать правду. На самом деле, все больше и больше нас таких, которые хотят знать правду. И вот, слава Богу, Thank God It's Tuesday, эта передача нам как раз в этом помогает. Так что с этими словами я, Аня Пекерман, передача Thank God It's Tuesday. Прощаемся со всеми до следующей недели, я надеюсь, и желаю всем всего самого доброго.
WWPR 105.1 FM HD2 New York.
Новости на радио USA.
Здравствуйте. Коротко о событиях к этому часу.